Today we are talking about the future of real estate. Everybody's worried about AI across every industry, how it's going to affect what we do. Well, in this episode, we discuss it, so listen, enjoy. Watch and or listen while we tackle tough and sometimes taboo topics filmed live over drinks. This platform allows us to articulate our thoughts and challenge our beliefs. This is SipTalk. Grab a drink and enjoy.
All right, we are live. Welcome to SipTalk, episode 267. My name is Justin DiGiulio, joined by Youri, Jean-Pierre.
There you go. You got it. You got
One of the pronunciation correct. We're coming at you live from SipTalk headquarters, the internet. Youri, how's your day going so far?
My day is going great. Better now.
You speak up a little bit. Are we mic'd up here?
Am I good? Can you hear me?
Hope our audio is good. If our audio is not great, somebody will let us know. I'm certain of that. Today, we are talking about the future of real estate, specifically in New York City and just kind of overall. Excited to have you on, man. We haven't done this yet in person.
No, we've done it virtually.
We've done it virtually, yeah. We did a little cyber sex. It's a real thing, all right? What are you drinking there?
I'm having your Montelobos, the mezcal.
The mezcal. I think SipTalk tradition says I'm going to have some too. And once that drink is poured, we can commence the discussion. So tell me,
Strong.
It's strong.
It's strong.
Let that ice do its. Let that ice do its
thing. Yeah.
So you gotta tell me a little bit about your background and what makes you qualified to have this conversation on real estate.
I love the
And I want to know how you got involved in real estate. Give me the full.
All right.
Give me the long version. We got an hour here.
So I've always been someone that loved to interact with people. Very talkative, an extrovert. Cheers. And I studied communication and I studied marketing, business at FIU. And from there, worked in different aspects of corporate America, sales, marketing, what's not. I've done some PR works as well. And a few years ago, right after COVID, well, I would say almost at the end of COVID, I decided to do real estate. I always wanted to do this in my 20s, but looking back, I don't think I was mature enough to handle it.
I say that quite a bit. I don't think I could have started this business at any other time. I was in my 20s when I started, but I feel like if I was older, I wouldn't have stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but there's a timing in life where you can get into this and it works for you.
Right.
So for you, it was in your mid.
So I know it was my end of the 30s.
I was being nice. I know.
So no, I was actually 39 when I decided to do it. I worked and then I studied and took the test twice, passed, and then I started at 39, almost 40. So I really in my 40.
I remember your 40th birthday.
Yeah, exactly. So been at it for over a year. Love it. I think it was the right choice. It goes with my personality, and what I enjoy the most is actually the freedom of my time. The freedom for me to do whatever I want around it. It can be long hours, but at the same time, it can be a day. It only work for 1 hour or 2 hours. So yeah,
depending on the day. Yeah.
Depending on the day.
Exactly. I mean, in this business, you eat what you kill. Here, cheers.
Cheers.
Stop me at 4 of these. All right. By the way, Montelobos is a great mezcal. I'm a big fan of mezcal.
It is good.
I backed off the mezcal a little bit, but I think in like 2018 or 19, I jumped on the mezcal train, and mezcal is like one of my favorite.
But that's when it became popular.
I think that's when it's first started to become popular.
Yeah, 18, 19.
But I love mezcal, and Montelobos is a very nice mezcal.
Right.
So you've been doing this for a little over a year. And today, by the way, the co-host, our co-host, James, is in Tenerife. He is, which is an island a little south of Spain. It belongs to Spain. And he's on vacation. He's trying out another country, given the Trump administration. That was his cue to exit the country. And we're patiently or impatiently awaiting updates from him to see how he's faring, see if he likes it or not.
Right.
Little tough getting in there and getting acclimated, getting some internet connection, the time difference, because he's working out of California time in Spain. So
Does he speak Spanish?
he speaks Spanish. He speaks Spanish better than I do.
That
Not
works.
quite as well as you do, but that's what brings you on. And today we're talking about the future of real estate. And I think really what kind of geared my mind towards this topic was looking at how industries have changed over time. And I think if you asked me 15 years ago if retail clothing stores would go out of business, I would have said to you, how can they go out of business? People need to wear clothes.
Right.
And then you said, well, people buying stuff on the internet. And I would have said, who's going to buy clothes on the internet if you can't try them on first? And now you buy clothes on the internet, you try them on. If you don't like them, you send them back. Duh. Okay. And obviously, still, you do go to some clothing stores. But for the most part, they don't have the inventory they used to have. Okay. They have very little inventory. They have a little showroom, and that's about it, especially in New York City. People buy a lot of stuff online. And that's why not only are stores closing, but malls are closing.
Plenty of malls.
Okay, a lot of retail places closing.
Yeah.
And then I even said this because I remember this app came out 10 years ago or so called Peapod. And Peapod, it was a Shop and Stop, I think, affiliate, and you could buy Stop and Shop groceries on the I can't see the Facebook comments. We have Rome and Raj here who are helping us produce the podcast. So if you're watching us live, you can comment and they will feed us your comments, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. We can see all your comments. I'm asking them to stop me for it. Thank you, Damien. But when Peapod came out, I said, there's no way people are going to buy their groceries on the internet. How are you going to buy fresh produce? If you buy your groceries on the internet, by default, they're just going to give you the lousiest strawberries, the lousiest bananas. And I haven't stepped foot in a grocery store yet this year. And I would say maybe 3 or 4 times I went to a supermarket last year, and they weren't for a full shopping trip. It was to buy, like I was having guests over. I was like, damn, we need to get some extra sodas and some cheese, right? But it wasn't to do like the full compra, as you say in Spanish. It was just like for some little itty bitty goods.
See, this is where kind of like it goes the opposite way for me. I want to touch my food,
I would have told. I'm telling you, I would have told you the same thing. I am that person. I made the argument that you're making to me now 10 years ago and said it wouldn't happen.
But I'm still doing it now. So I think there's a market for.
But what I'm and so what we're is you and I have a lot of similarities, similar age range, and I think
we're the same age.
I think you're older.
We're the same age.
You look younger. I think you and I have a similar mentality, but we straddle this topic on both sides of it,
right?
Because it's in this transitional period.
Correct.
I don't think grocery stores will close, but I think the dynamic of the grocery store is going to become more of a warehouse. It's going to be less consumer focused and more shopper focused, where you have your Uber Eats and what's the DoorDash, people coming in and doing the buying,
right? And
less advertising to the less candy in the checkout aisle, right? Which is the impulse buy, because DoorDashers aren't going to care about that impulse buy. They're going to, it will change over the next 10 years. I think it'll change a lot over the next 5 years. You have these shops. I think there's one on 37th Street where it's just, now you order groceries in New York City direct, and you have these places that are not open to the public that just store the groceries.
That's true.
So I don't think necessarily grocery stores will go away, but I think we'll see a lot less consumer candy in the checkout aisle type items. What I'm saying, though, is that how is real estate going to be affected over the next 2 years, 5 years, 10, 20, 50 years? Now, obviously, 50 years, we'll all be living in spaceships hovering off the ground or something. It's a joke, but who knows? We tend to overestimate the near future. But, and that's what I want to get into. Like, what does this business look like 2 years from now? As real estate agents, people think that we do very little, when in fact we do a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
And I saw a Ricky Carruth is a real estate agent turned trainer while being an agent. I think he's retired now, but he responded to a post that some guy made who was selling his house on his own, saying real estate agents have made it impossible to sell your house as an owner. They're basically creating too many barriers of entry for sale by owners. And the guy listed a bunch of points. And then Ricky Carruth was like, no, Those are the same. That's the same shit we deal with too.
Exactly.
It's just that it happens.
You don't have to deal with it.
Very difficult
Exactly.
for us to do it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
It's very difficult for us to do it. It's very difficult for you to do it. That's just, we just do it full time.
Exactly.
It's not something you can do part time. You know, if you're selling your house, it's a full time job. But my question to you is kind of with that as the setup. What do you think this business is going to look like in 2 years?
I think in 2 years it will be lots of AI, enabled type of scenario platforms where the first contact won't be us, and probably a layer after or a few layers after, that's where we come in. So the question, the automatic questions that could be sent out automatically, the listing suggestions will be that will be sent out. That already started already. So I think this is where we won't be on the forefront, but at some point we would have to show up. You know what I mean?
So what
We
you're
have
saying
to.
is we won't be doing the minutia of replying to people, of
Exactly.
sending people listings.
Correct.
But at a certain point, we'll then be engaged.
Exactly. At a certain point, we have to step in, right?
So on that note, and I agree with you. I think the AI, all the automation is going to take over a vast amount of what we do, responding to emails. But when you call a company because you have a complaint about the product, you have an issue, and you're on the phone with AI, or you're doing the chat on a website, how infinitely frustrating is that? Where you just want to get to a person as quickly as possible.
I mean, it is frustrating, but unfortunately, I think that mechanism exists or is doing well because people uses it. If they didn't use it, if they were asked, for example, it's kind of like you going to a store and you're doing self checkout, right?
You're forced to use it. I prefer not a self checkout.
I
don't want to steal something. I'm joking.
I don't like self checkouts. I feel like it takes away jobs or what's not. But if people are not standing up, the majority are doing it. So my voice or other people's voice that agree with me, it doesn't. They do not matter. So I honestly think that even though if you can't find someone to talk to, blah blah blah, I honestly think it will be fine because the majority of people don't want to speak to you. You see it all the time. You respond to a lead and you ask them basic questions. They don't even want to answer those questions. So it's. So I guess it's based on society behavior.
Well, yeah. So I think AI will help us as agents separate the wheat from the chaff in terms of viable clients. I think from the client, I think 2 years in, AI is not getting us as far as we would like. Not because AI doesn't have the capability, but because it's not built into the infrastructure. And I don't think the consumers are going to like it. When a consumer wants to view an apartment and ask questions, and the AI is just answering the questions. Because what I tell agents is that 90% of leads who contact you for one listing will end up renting something else. And realistically, people don't know what they want. And it's not that they don't know what they want. They know what they want. It's just generally what they want isn't attainable. So somebody wants to be in a certain neighborhood. They want to be at a certain price point. They want a certain amount of space. That doesn't exist.
Right. And you come in to give them that reality check or to give them that.
So AI is just going to answer that question. Yeah, it's smaller than you want. Yeah, it's more. It's at the top of your budget, and there are surcharges on the top. Or yeah, it's in this neighborhood, but it's not going to work because it's a fifth floor walk up. I think it's the agent that has the insight that adds the human touch to the equation. So that's 2 years out. I don't think it changes that much.
No, I don't think.
And I don't think that the AI is built into the infrastructure well enough that the consumer experience is elevated to kick out agents what we're doing today.
I mean, if anything, it might frustrate a lot of people because they're only getting generic answers as opposed to that personal, report that we bring into it.
And I think the vast majority of the agents are going to lean into that AI and not be successful because of it. And I think the agents that are ready to jump on the phone, ready to interact, and genuinely be there, are actually going to be the agents that can help the consumers achieve what they really need, right? And are going to be the more successful ones. And we're talking 2 years out. Okay, I think things actually change a little bit for the agents a little bit further out. Let me hit this comment from Damien that says, I think the clients will go back to the aspect of meeting in person with agents. You can't replicate the interpersonal relationship needed to truly close a deal, and technology has truly eliminated wannabe real estate agents that weren't truly dedicated and didn't want to put in the work. And I think he's right on that.
I think so
that
too.
These agents that aren't willing to put in the work, the technology, they just can't. They can't scrape by not doing very much work. It takes agents who decide, who put their dip their toe in and say, this is for me, and then jump right in.
I think there's one thing to have automatic emails being sent out to keep your customers engaged and really engaging with your customers. Like
Well, here's what Damien just said. By the way, I still have a copy of Justin's training material from 2012 called "The Art of the Call," and that's that engagement aspect. That's as soon as you can convey to somebody that you can help them, you're already winning. But it's very difficult to convey that in the initial interactions with somebody. And because in this business, there's so much bullshit out there. I get a lot of comments from people who say, "Oh, real estate agents suck," and I'm like, I know. Why do you think I train them for a living? Like this, I know they suck, right? I agree with you.
Right.
Oh man. So on a couple notes, I want to do just a little self promo. Visit SipTalkPodcast.com. Let us know what you want to hear about in future episodes. Check out the bar trivia, where each week we ask a new bar trivia question. The correct answers go into a pool to get SipTalk swag. We got pint glasses, we got beer mugs, we got coffee mugs, towels, we got a dog T-shirt for the dog owners out there. And buy us a drink on SipTalkPodcast.com. Support the podcast. Buy us a shot, buy us a beer, buy us a round of drinks, buy us a bottle. We appreciate it. And don't forget to check out SipTalk Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and YouTube, mentioning bar trivia. In, let's see, about 10 minutes, we're going to get to last week's bar trivia question. I'll give you the opportunity to wedge educated guess. I thought it was a pretty easy one. It took me, I encountered the question. I thought about it for a little while, and then, boom, I got the answer. And then at the end of this episode, I got some new bar trivia, which I think is cute. I think it's a cute one. So let's talk about 5 years. So obviously, we're saying the technology and the infrastructure is not going to be there in 2 years. What's 5 years look like?
Ooh, that's a tough one. 5 years from now.
It's almost unfathomable because of the AI aspect.
Correct. I mean, it's a scary thing because it's that uncertainty.
What do you mean?
Right?
Scary in terms of like self-preservation? How do we still have a job?
Yeah, how do we still have a job? You don't know what platform is going to be the trendiest platform that people are going to gravitate to, or what will be the new thing at that time.
Street Easy and Zillow right now have the monopoly on these platforms on the consumer end, but I put on that not Google Oculus, what's it called? The Facebook, no, the Apple. What's it, Apple Meta?
Glasses.
What's the Apple one called? The Apple glasses, Vision Pro.
Vision Pro, huh?
Put on the Apple Vision Pro. Downloaded the Zillow app, and it was the worst user interface experience. I mean, it was terrible.
Interesting.
It was terrible. And to me, I was like, "Wow, the future! It's here. I got the thing for the Matterport for the 3D tours. I'm like, this shit's gonna be it's gonna be overnight. They're just gonna, they'll do the coding, they'll put the apps together. People are gonna be touring properties virtually. I'm ready to go. I got the Matterport. I got the not Facebook Vision Pros. I got the Vision Pros. I'm gonna be I'll be on the precipice of this. And I mean, I can't code. I'm not making these programs. And what's out there right now is bullshit. By 5 years, I think people will be touring the homes virtually. I think there's going to be a lot more transactions that happen without people seeing places in person. The downside is you're missing smell-o-vision, right? So if it happens to be a smelly apartment or something like that, you're missing that aspect of it.
But how long is that going to last, though?
What do you mean? You think?
Because I still think all the technology is have grown, and we're here today. But I think a lot of time people want to go back to the most humane interaction, basic interaction.
Well, you want to go to the cashier,
correct.
Right. I want to smell the cheese before I buy the cheese. I don't want to buy it through the app.
Perfect example. I went to Barnes and Nobles not long ago, and they have a whole.
Was this 1997?
That was just like that was yesterday, literally. And I went to
a bookstore recently.
Yeah, I went, and I was surprised to see so many people inside of Barnes and Nobles. But what shocked me the most is that was the one on 50 something and Fifth Avenue, and I went upstairs, and they literally have a whole CD music section, and I was like, CDs? And the guy or the manager was like, actually, CDs are being sold a lot amongst Gen Zs.
No, first
And I'm
of all,
like, why? Guess why? Because they want to be able to own something.
records,
They
my
wanna-
friend, records. Right? CD is a
No,
digital
they are
file
buying.
on a disc.
They are buying CDs. The CDs. He said they sell a lot of CDs on a daily basis. I was like, CDs, you know. But now, and I'm a CD guy, so I'm like, okay, I guess I can go back to
Well,
my
you and I
collection.
grew up when, like, we miss records.
We miss records. I'm not.
Cassettes were around for our entire lifetime.
Yes.
CDs
But
came out when
CDs
you were what, like 8 or 9 or 7 or something like that.
Probably like 11, 12.
Younger than that. They existed. Like late
True.
80s or something. They probably existed, but they became the prevalent. We watched CDs eclipse cassette.
Right. Yes.
Just
yes.
like most people. Well, I say most. I don't even know who the audience is anymore. Most people watch DVDs overtake VHS, and everybody has watched Netflix and streaming services overtake television and DVDs, right? And everybody, unless you're the TikTokers,
I mean,
who are 12, don't remember DVDs.
think about it. You purchase a movie on YouTube, right? You own it. But what if YouTube closes?
Mm-hmm.
What happens? I think this is where people are like, I want to own something. I want to own my music and things like that. What if Apple shuts down?
Dude, I went to the Moxie in the East Village a couple years ago, and they had this like bookshelves with VHS tapes
Mhm.
and old school televisions and old school radio. So I got this idea in my basement, the bar in my basement. I wanted to do like a retro VHS, and like so I have like the Sony Walkman. I have cassette tapes. I got the Sony Watchman, which is a first portable TV. I've got 2 versions of the Walkman tape player. The original one, which by the way is huge. It's like this big.
Mhm.
The first Sony tape player, and then I have like the 8th generation, which is all metal, all
You have a
aluminum.
CD player?
No, I don't have
The portable CD. I had a portable CD player.
The CD one's not as cool, but I really got it. And then I've been collecting records for a while. I don't have a huge collection, but if artists or something I really like, I get the record, and I'm going to build on that. But
Going back to real estate with that, I think
what this tangent?
people want to be able to touch. I think as much as they want technology, but at some point you do want that natural, you know what I mean?
Because you're physically going to live in it. You're
Correct.
physically going to live in it.
Yeah. I mean, it might be a step to get them to the place, but I don't think it's the last step for them to make that choice. If I have to send you a report for you to see what it looks
Right.
like,
Let me tell
and you know what I mean, that's fine. But I still think you're gonna book an appointment to go see it in person if that experience was
The
worth it.
last 3 places that I have moved, I did not step foot inside before signing.
I mean, you're special. I mean, come on, man. I'm not gonna buy a place without stepping in. I want to see the area.
I bought the Jersey house. I bought the apartment. I rented the apartment on the Upper West Side. Before that, I rented the apartment in Harlem, and I did not step foot inside.
You lived in Harlem?
I lived on 151 on Broadway, and
That's
between
Harlem.
Broadway and Riverside.
That's Harlem. Okay, that's Harlem.
Hamilton Heights. That's Hamilton Heights.
Hamilton Heights. Okay.
And you have Broadway,
You
which
mean Morningside?
you have Broadway, which the decibel level at 2:00 in the morning on the weekends and some weeknights is quite high. But then you have Riverside, which is like super quiet.
Yes.
It's super peaceful. It looks like the scene out of like Goodwill Hunting or something,
Mhm.
right? But in my opinion, I lived in this old giant Hamilton era building with a huge grand lobby, and it was an elevator building. It was really nice. And I identified this building as a new agent, and I said, I will live there one day. And then an apartment popped up, and I was like, all right,
I'm going to live there.
I never saw the apartment though.
Well, you already know the building, so that's cheap. That's kind of like a cheap.
Well, you know what happened though was that all the renovations they were doing in this building, very nice, condo level renovation. The place that I got, nope. It did have nice granite counters, and it was very clean, and it was a nice apartment, but it didn't have that newly finished.
Right.
But it had like solid oak floors. The new ones had like the fake laminate wood. So I was very happy with mine.
Right.
But it wasn't the same level as the.
I would buy an investment house without seeing this, but to live in, that's a little stretching it though, man.
So I see this guy in the street here.
Jorge.
Jorge. We got we got people on TikTok and Twitter and Twitch, and I don't know where these guys are watching. But thank you guys for joining us live. Make a comment. Let us know where you're watching from, which brokerage maybe you moved to recently.
Ooh.
What happened? We'll get to that after the podcast. But on that note,
let me sip. This is a sip talk, though.
It is sip talk. It is sip talk. And let's talk about 5 years.
Right.
Let's talk about 5 years.
Yes, sir.
So, do you think you're going to be running around the city as much in 5 years?
Oh, no.
What are you going to be doing?
Oh, in 5 years, I should be having strong relationship with brokers. With developers, owners, and that's the side of real estate that ideally I'm assuming most people want to be in. That's where I want to be in. So maybe have 1 or 2 building new development, as exclusives. That's where I want to be in 5 years or more. You know what I mean? More in that scenario. I don't want to be running around the city.
But
I'm gonna be 40 something. That's definitely not running around the city, my man.
But what does the industry look like? So you'll be representing some buildings, and how are you marketing these buildings 5 years from now?
Oh, well, at this
Google AdWords.
we're gonna have to use every tool that is the most trendiest and the most effective.
So So here's what I find, and I tell agents this: if you have if you have an apartment and it's less than ideal, let's say it's a high floor walk up, or it's small, or the window's looking at air shoot. Is this all information that you want to provide off the bat? So the thing is, the more you disclose to people, the easier it is to say no. And what happens that I find is oftentimes when somebody comes, they say, here's my criteria. I want to be in X neighborhood. I want to be under X price. And I want this size apartment or these amenities.
Right.
And that doesn't exist. Okay. So they can spend all their time on the internet looking at places, but then they always go and they see them in person and they go, I feel misled. It was smaller than I wanted. Well, it's kind of like dating, right? Like if you're just dating for looks, right? You're searching people, you're just dating for looks, and you meet them in person, they're shorter, or they don't look like their profile picture, or they're broke, or they're narcissistic, right? The thing is, you have to do things a little more natural. So when we go out with clients, we'd like to do this consultation first, where we find out exactly what their needs are, make suggestions. Of course, if there's one listing,
the easiest thing to do.
If there's one listing they're interested in, we want to show it to them. We don't want to bait and switch. Yeah. But realistically, people end up falling outside of that criteria. Now, I think in 5 years, all the information is going to be super available. Okay, you're going to have these 3D tours. Everything's going to be mapped out. You're going to have floor plans. But is that going to make it easier for people to make decisions and look out for their own interests?
Oh, I think it might be even much more difficult for them to make decisions.
Well, I think, and that's because I think a lot of our job is going to go away. I think that consultative process is almost going to disappear, and all the information is going to be available online. So a lot of our job is going to disappear. A lot of our corresponding back and forth is going to disappear.
Or the way the attention span of people is so short, you may have to reiterate that in person again.
But getting that person getting that person to meet you in person, I think, is going to be that difficult part.
I agree.
And
because even though they have all the tools, the 3D, whatever, but I still think you have to reiterate everything to them. But they're not reading.
But the consumer is going to have all this information up front. And when they don't find what they're looking for, are they just going to settle on the next best thing? Because for me, getting that person to settle, getting the person that wants to be in Midtown East or the Upper East Side and be like, all right, bro, you're going to be in Long Island City.
Right.
Or you're going to compromise on what you're not going to get the doorman.
Correct.
You're going to be on the Upper East Side.
Right.
Although Long Island City is almost as expensive as.
Especially with all these new developments in Long Island City, definitely $6,000 for a 1-bedroom. Yeah, it's pretty much. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing.
Let me because
I have an exclusive in Long Island City.
It's 7 p.m. on the dot, and I posted this week a 1-bedroom apartment in Harlem. It's about 1,000 square feet, roughly 1,200 square feet. If you count the outdoor space. 127th and Lenox, I think. No, Lenox. It's above the park. It's north of the park. Really nice place. Decent neighborhood. Like, it's a nice block. It's a really peaceful, quiet block. A lot of really nice looking brownstone buildings. and I posted it I posted it on Nextdoor app, and I posted, and it's on Street Easy, and I posted it
the one you sent me
on Reddit, and the Reddit community is being very aggressive. They're telling me how it's overpriced and how they would never pay this.
They have an opinion.
And how they've got a 3-bedroom for $1,600, and that you could get the same shit in Lenox. You could get a $3,200 apartment in Lenox Hill, and they'll be happy with that. But what my question is, like, why is everybody so mad about it? And this is the Harlem Reddit subreddit, okay? And I'm just sharing a listing. Now, all these people are, and they're like, "Why are you so defensive?" I'm like, "Well, because you're attacking the listing."
Right.
My diligence is to answer the comments and keep this a relevant discussion.
Right.
Some people just pass by like, "Oh, that looks nice. Thanks for sharing."
Yeah.
Other people are like, "This sucks," and then other people got like really into it. And those are the people that I chose to answer because, and like I don't have that. I mean, half the time you guys were here before we even started the podcast. I was like, all right, you guys can talk right now, but like, don't talk to me. I got to fucking work. I basically never turn off. Like, I'm always fucking doing 1,000 things. And staying in touch with these. But I felt that it was because it's my listing and it's my agent's listing, really. I'm the perfect words, my agent. Is that I had to defend it. And I concluded today, I'm no longer going to answer questions, but I invited people on this podcast. You can join us after 7. And if you'd like to share your thoughts, and you know what I usually find, and I've done this a few times, they go silent.
They're not gonna come
because like you can hide behind
people have a lot of mouth on social media.
You can hide behind your anonymous username.
Absolutely.
But listen, if somebody wants to pop on, the link to join us while we're live is in my Instagram bio, or the little link. It's in the bio. Somebody wants to pop on. You gotta let us know what you want to talk about. We're not just gonna let anybody on. But
let me quickly say hi to a few people.
All right. Well, we are live, so Youri, go ahead, do some plugs.
I have people from Haiti that actually hitting me up here. Patrice Bernardin, how are you? Romaine in Miami, Dimitri. It's a lot of few people, man. So everybody that joined in, thank you for joining and watching this.
It's yeah, it's nice to do these live discussions.
Definitely.
And over drinks, so you better finish. That drink is so old, your ice is fully melted, my friend.
Listen, man.
This is
everybody who knows me. I don't drink that much.
All right, so let me hit the bar trivia question, and then I want to get to like 10, 15 years out. Okay, so bar trivia question.
Okay,
and you answer it when you know the answer.
Okay.
And we got Roman Rasha. If you guys feel you know the answer, feel free to chime in. But let's give Youri because he's on the camera here.
Oh Lord!
A second.
And if you guys can help me, just help me out, please.
All right. So Heidi Bush has a cottage situated in a well-treed lot in northern Ontario, Canada. She enjoys keeping her lot in tip-top condition by fertilizing and pruning and removing dead wood and broken branches. However, Heidi has a rather strange habit. Once a year, she'll chop down a perfectly healthy tree and she'll put it in a pot. She'll water it and fertilize it. And a short time later, when she gets tired of it, she burns it. Could there be any rational explanation as to this seemingly strange behavior? Heidi lives up in the mountains in northern Ontario, Canada. She lives in a well-treed lot. She prunes a lot. She takes care of it, fertilizes the trees. And once a year, she finds a tree. She cuts it down. And then she pots it. She takes care of it. But then after a little while, she gets bored and she burns it.
Wait, what?
You got Heidi. She lives in Canada.
She lives in Canada, Ontario, Canada.
She lives in her lot, however many acres she has.
Right.
Lots of trees.
Right.
Once a year, she chops the tree down. She pots it, takes care of it, waters it, and then after a little while, she burns it. I told you this was an easy one. This was a gimme.
Did you get it, bro?
Nobody has this one.
No.
Nobody has this one.
I rarely drink.
Really, because it has nothing to do with this. So
I'm like, wait.
So this is a SipTalk trivia question from 266, I think, was the last episode. Heidi lives on a Christmas tree lot, and once a year she chops a Christmas tree down.
What's up with you and Heidi?
Heidi is the name of the question.
Right. Let's go. What's up with him?
Heidi has a Christmas tree lot. Once a year, she chops a tree down.
Okay.
She puts it in a pot in the living room.
Okay.
She waters it.
Okay.
After Christmas, she tosses it up back and burns it. It's a Christmas tree. Yeah, she lives on a Christmas tree lot.
Wait, how was that bar trivia? I was thinking.
That was from last week. So the one for today. So
All right.
she's
So
making.
the one for
She was
today.
still.
No, this is not the trivia question for today. At the end of the episode, roughly the 54-minute mark or so, I'll hit you with a new trivia question.
Okay.
You can't answer it on air though. You got to answer it next episode.
Okay.
So all right. So I think in 5 years in this business, real estate, New York City specifically, all the information about almost every unit. I mean, I've got 15 years worth of photos of apartments, but photos are nothing now. And the photos that I have from 12 years ago, 8 years ago, are not high res. They're not great photos.
Right.
A lot of those places don't have floor plans. We're going to start having 3D tours, video tours, high res photos, smell-o-vision, all the information about the building, the floor plan, the building layout. Like
Right.
floor 1 has 4 apartments. They'll have this. Floor 2 has 4 apartments. The owner has owned this building for 42 years. They pulled this permit, this permit. You're going to have this great 360 view of all these details. I think in 5 years, there's already a lot of details. The problem is it's just not cohesive. One website has this, the other website has this.
Right.
I think in 5 years, you're going to have most of that. I still think, though, you're going to need the real estate agents to direct people, right?
Yeah.
Because it's still going to be very difficult for people to find people. Again, people don't know what they're looking for. They do, but it doesn't exactly exist. Okay. So let's say 10, 15 years from now, what's this look like?
10 years.
10 to 15.
Oh, wow. 10 to 15 years. Whew.
A little shout out to Alex here, Infinite Roots. Go ahead.
Do you think it's going to be at the point where we're going to have robots giving tours?
I don't see why you would have real estate agents physically opening doors and showing apartments. I was at a real estate office. Shout out to Desmond. I was at a real estate office a few months ago, and I went in. I was greeted by a Filipino face on an iPad, on an iPad stand on wheels. The reason
Did it move?
And the reason I mentioned Filipino face is because there's a virtual assistant in the Philippines, and she was on the iPad, able to see me. I could see her. She was a real person, and she was able to meander around the office on wheels.
You didn't video that? You didn't take a video of that?
No. I'll introduce you to Desmond. You guys actually work for the same company. I'll introduce you to Desmond. He's a good guy. He's.
I know Dev. Do I know Desmond?
No. He's been in the business, I think, about as long as I have. Maybe give or take a couple of years, longer or shorter. And it was very cool. Now I think we're going to see a lot more of this. And the thing is, people are going to want to see. You get the 3D tour, but it's not live. It's not open the cabinet.
Right.
Let me look under the sink. Right. I don't think in 10 or 15 years we're going to have a full 3D being able to open the cabinet type experience. I don't think we're going to be there. But I think that real estate agents, I think the vast majority of the real estate agent jobs are gone. Now, I have difficulty getting apartments previewed and photographed and the videos done by non-real estate. If I want to hire a photographer,
Right.
this guy's not going to be able to get into the building because
Right.
he doesn't have a real estate license. Right? So if I have a photographer, I got to send him with a licensed person to get into the building because technically that's what you need to do. I don't know how we're going to aggregate all this data, but I really think that real estate agents are not going to be physically present.
So are you saying that the real estate as a career is going to mutate into a different, or it's going to merge with other things?
15 years from now, do you have taxi drivers and bus drivers?
See, I'm not doing these with these driverless cars. I saw one the other day, and I'm like, no.
Rebel? Was it a Rebel? What was it?
It was a Tesla.
Tesla.
I'm not doing that.
So again, you and I are very similar in that respect.
No.
But listen, I'll tell you one thing. On a night like tonight, after 3, 4, 5 of these,
I mean, if that happens,
would I be safer? 3, 4, 5 of these, am I safer driving a car or taking an automated car? Automated car. However, I've been having this major urge lately I want a vehicle with lots of gauges.
Mm-hmm.
I want a vehicle with, I want like the old car. You had an oil pressure gauge, you had a fuel gauge, you had a fuel pressure gauge, you had an engine temperature gauge, you had speedometer, odometer. A lot of the vehicles right now, everything's digital. It's just a screen. So, I mean, for me, I think probably moving forward, price permitting, I will buy only 2012 and older cars because I want a manual transmission. I was in England, manual transmission vehicle, and I want racket pinion steering. And to me, the exterior body of the car, the shape of the car, if it's a driving experience, it's just a video game, does not fucking matter to me, right? What matters to me is the actual experience. So, but again, I think moving forward, 15 years, the role of the real estate agent is simply a consultant.
Right. Right.
I don't
It
think we're going
shifts
to be,
to
and I also
yeah.
don't think we're going to be running around the city as much. And I'm telling you, fruits and vegetables and cuts of meat and pants and shirts and underwear and blouses and socks and shoes. When was the last time you bought a pair of shoes in a shoe store and tried them on?
Not long ago.
Not long ago?
No, not long ago. I like to shop and try my things on.
All right, white people have a different relationship with shoes.
I have to try my
I know,
shoes.
yeah. Well,
I
yeah,
gotta
not
put them
me.
on
I've
first,
been buying the
man.
same size pair of shoes, the same brand shoes for the last 20 years.
You know,
But I think that trying on part is for apartments and houses is going to disappear in 15 years.
right?
I really do, and I think the role of the real estate agent is gone in 15 years, which by the way, you will never have a job in real estate in 15 years if you don't learn real estate now, because you have to first of all, if you want to design a vehicle in 15 years, you want to design a vehicle,
Right.
you got to drive the cars of today. And you got to drive the cars of yesterday. Because if you're going to design that user experience, you got to know.
So, going to realtors now. So do you think it's the right time for us to start learning about development, learning about different aspects of the real
Well,
estate game?
I'll give you a real life example. Do you guys know about the knowledge? You ever heard of the knowledge? The knowledge. So if you wanted to be a black cab driver in London, up until roughly 10 years ago, maybe they still do it, you had to take the test called the knowledge. Now, the knowledge is a test of every route, of every location, of every shortcut in London. You had to know how to get from point A to point B in London
Right.
without using GPS, because this is before GPS existed.
Mhm.
Otherwise, this is effectively the medallion. Now, in New York City, you just buy the medallion. It costs you $800,000. You buy them. Now you can't give them away, but because you can just get an Uber license. But back then, they didn't have medallions, but you had to have the knowledge to get a black cab license. And now, the overhead to drive a vehicle in London, Uber, super easy, right? Same thing in New York City. You don't need a black. That's what I'm saying. You can't give these. A lot of these yellow cab drivers are underwater. Their medallion. They bought this medallion for $1.2 million with their business partners. They bought it for $800,000. It's not worth shit because the yellow cabs sometimes are making less than the Ubers.
Right.
So what happened was you had to have all this knowledge to become a cab driver, and then almost overnight, it seemed overnight. It really was like 2 years. Like probably 2016 to 18 or so it was just 3 years, but I'm sure it was very tumultuous in that time as a licensed taxi driver to be an Uber driver, right? And now you don't have the barrier of entry into driving people around is zero, right? So what I'm thinking in real estate is that the barrier of entry might very well be zero. But I think in the 15 or 20-year mark that there's no role that you could have with zero barrier of entry without having the knowledge.
I agree.
And I think that's where people like me and you will win in the long run, whereas that barrier of entry will be even steeper for somebody who wants to get in and be a real estate consultant, because a real estate agents unlocking doors is the most bullshit version of this job there is. Okay. In so many years, though, what is our role? Because people right now believe it's unlocking doors.
Right.
In
I
actuality,
did a post about this the other day.
I saw that. You've been having some good social media stuff.
Thank you.
Your social media has. I've enjoyed watching your career. I've enjoyed it. It's
baby.
It,
But
the cool thing.
Rush had given me to you, and now
the cool thing is that like you and I see, like I just said 10 minutes ago, you and I on many levels we're very different, but on many levels we're very similar.
Absolutely.
And the reason that I exist in my role is it's very rewarding for me to bring people into the business and then bring them to the level where you are, right? And it's very cool for me. I don't want to be an agent anymore,
right?
Because this is more rewarding, right? And my role will change over the next 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. In the much more distant, 25 years, 50, even 15 to 25 years right now is the same shit. We don't have any idea whether we're all going to be sitting in a bathtub with goggles on and a bodysuit on, right? Doesn't sound that bad as long as you're in bliss. Like, feed me some drugs. Feed me some drugs, here we got a comment here. Schizoid asshole. I think I know what that is. So will rental agents exist in 10 years? Because right now, most people don't see the need to pay an agent to find an apartment. What about when literally everything is online? Well, here's the thing: is people don't see a need because all they think is that the agent's job is to unlock the door.
Yeah, exactly.
What they don't understand is that for them to even see the listing, the agent did all that work.
Yeah.
And that was what I led with in this podcast, was that for sale by owner, the owner who wanted to sell on his own thought that everything was stacked against him and the industry was working against him, when in actuality, nobody gives a shit if he wants to sell on his own or not. It's just a tough job. So, yeah, I think in 5 years or 10 years, the real estate agent's role is still real. What I'm saying is that it's going to transform.
Yes.
And I think there's going to be fewer people in the business.
There's going to be many added layers to what we do. It's
but
not
the person who's getting this experience now is, make sure those are still live. By the way, we just got an incoming call. It's a knowledge and acquisition of kind of an understanding of how this business works and the psychology of the consumer, right? And I think that's where real estate agents will win. It's like a dating matchmaker, right? Like, I still think they have a role, given you can Tinder all day you want. But somebody who's a matchmaker for a living, by the way, if you're a matchmaker in New York City, you're probably pulling in like 400, 500 grand a year.
Should I switch career real quick?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't have enough connections to do it. But somebody who understands people is like, this is a good person for you. Like, I'm a major networker. I have a huge network, expansive network of people, X, Y, and Z. You came here. I know this person. I'm going to put you versus an app, which apps are bad. Apps want you to stay on the app. They're matching you with
anything.
Well, they're matching you with anything, but also they're matching you with like the worst people for you, right? Like the way the apps work is you just go for the prettiest person. Like, maybe if you know your role, right? If you're a 6 and you can choose 9s and 10s, okay, but at a certain point you're gonna be like, all right, this isn't working out. Let me look at 6s and 7s, or the 7s and the 8s, and go by their interests.
Right.
But for the most part, people on apps don't have their best interests in mind. Right. Same thing goes for apartments. And that's where I think the expert wins in the long run. Now, fast forward 30 to 50 years, I don't even think apartments are going to be like apartments are now. I can't imagine if in the year, in the year 2075, somebody living in a building built in 1848 or 1924 with a shaky elevator. To me, like that doesn't make sense to me. I can't imagine you live.
I have a question for that person. So it says, what about when literally everything is online? So how do you?
Well, everything is online.
Yep, exactly. Already, but how do you get access? Who's going to show it to you?
Well, let me give you another example.
What do?
Let me give you another example. All right. So we had this apartment. We got the floor plan. We got a 3D tour. We got it all mapped out. You get the virtual tour, everything. Okay. That was last year. It was on the market. Now it's available again. All right. We got a 3D tour. Okay. Who's taking that new tour? Because the last tenant moved their bed out and scratched the shit out of the floor. Right? Or they put in a new kitchen.
Right.
We haven't even gotten into the politics of this. Whether landlords, so we haven't talked about what the luxury market looks like, right? We haven't talked about the sales market or the. I mean, think about this, by the way. New York City, right now, a reasonably top tier financial centric city
Mm-hmm.
on earth. Okay, but that's
Yes.
spreading. You got other cities in Texas, right? Other different states across the country, which are detracting from this being a hub of the world. That $3 million plus
Mhm.
price range, are people spending that money to be here? Especially given the liberal politics in the city, where you have all the homeless people, all the crime is on the rise. Are people going to want to be here when you got Billionaires Row, where you have not AOC, I don't know who it was, but somebody that says, "Oh, you have Billionaires Row, we need a homeless shelter on this block." Whereas the homeless shelter people don't want to be spending $14 for a chopped cheese. Okay, they don't want to be on that block because the chopped cheese costs $14. But the billionaires don't want the homeless people on that block either. So, but for some reason, you got this, and now you have the politics, the liberal politics in New York City, bleeding into affecting the financial aspect of the city. Where it's a billionaire hub. You know, it's like Dubai. Dubai is brand new, detracting from the New York City. So you got this. You got the detraction from the high end price point, and then you got and I've lost my train of thought as to where we are on the time scale here, but even the low priced apartments, you've got lower priced apartments. Right now you got a $1,700 apartment that somebody moved out of. They've been there for 11 years. The landlord's like, "Man, I need to do major renovation to this place. I got to put in 80 grand worth of work. It needs, the floors are fucked. The appliances, I need new appliances. Somebody lived there for 11 years. Cooked some greasy shit on the stove.
Right.
You know, I got to replace the sink, got to replace the refrigerator, replace the stove. The walls are a little scraped up. The molding's a little fucked up. I got to replace the molding. All right, so we're going to do kind of almost a gut job, but it's going to cost 80 grand because labor is expensive, lumber is expensive, things are expensive. 80 grand. Now, they're only allowed to increase this rent a factor of roughly about $97 a month, which is under $1,200 a year. So we're going to put 80 grand into an apartment to increase the rent $1,200 a year. It's going to take them 7 years to pay this back off.
You mentioned luxury, right? This is my thing. I think this word has been thrown around a lot here in New York.
Luxury in New
What
York
does
City.
luxury means in New York City, really? Because it's like every building is a luxury building. Everyone is a luxury agent. What is that?
I got you on this. So I read a comment on my post, a $3,200 apartment. By the way, $3,200 for Harlem apartment. That's 1,200 square feet. Find me an apartment in New York City for less than $3,000. Very difficult. Okay,
Very difficult.
This happens to be on 127th Street. So what's wrong with 127th?
I have one on 114th and Manhattan Avenue, Morningside Heights, for 3,300, one bedroom, elevated building.
How many square foot?
It's less than yours.
This one has outdoor space.
No, none of
the
that.
bedroom. It's got a king size bed with a his and
It overlooks the park.
With a his and hers closet, which you can't use his and hers anymore. If you do, you die.
What do you use?
Double closet.
Double closet. Okay.
Which I don't care, but like everybody knows what his and hers closet.
Hers and hers, his and his.
I mean, it's two similar closets.
I mean,
right. Oh, master bedroom is triggering for slaves. Master, yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Oh, I probably got in trouble already.
You're also not supposed to say. You're also not supposed to say walking distance because wheelchair people can't. But whatever. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But listen, Youri, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But just don't.
You need to get me up to speed with.
Don't draw. Get in trouble. Don't draw and quarter me for like messing up. All right. I'm all for it. Just don't draw and quarter me for
right.
But people are talking about how expensive this is. I'm like, dude, this is actually a really good deal. They're like, that's your opinion.
I'm sorry, a one bedroom in Harlem for 3,200 is definitely. Yes, that's all.
Where does the everyman live? Where does the everyman live? And my thinking is not here.
Right.
I, by the way, don't fucking live in Midtown Manhattan. I don't live in the financial district. I live in New Jersey, right? Which is my choice. I happen to have lived in a very nice building here when I owned the last brokerage, and I
live in Jersey as well.
But the thing is, where do the poor people or the every people live? And it's not in the epicenter.
Can you say poor people?
I think so.
Okay, all right.
Right?
You never know nowadays, right?
But
It's not a slur yet.
it's not a.
That
But
was a
again,
good one.
I'm all for like whatever it is. But you just got to understand that you can't lambaste the people that fuck it up, especially when they're good-hearted people. You know, like I'm like I haven't seen the light.
Right.
The beginning of gay marriage, I was like, but marriage is like a Christian thing. It's like a religious thing. If the religion says that is, why do you want to be part of the club? Like my original thought on gay marriage is like, well, but marriage is a religious thing. If like the religion doesn't want you, why do you want the religion? Just go get the.
I'm not even getting into that.
But my point is, I changed.
I'm not.
My
We're
point
not.
is that I changed. The point is that like I was open-minded and
Right,
good-hearted.
Right.
But my
You
opinion
were asking.
initially,
You were asking an honest
20 years
question.
ago,
Yeah.
20 years ago,
Yeah.
I was like, this is my interpretation of it.
Right.
Let's have that conversation. So,
Correct.
but allow me
Educate me.
Allow me to be wrong without fucking me over.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
Give
me grace.
Exactly.
Give me grace to learn.
I use that phrase a lot. Allow me the grace, or I will give you the grace to be wrong, but let's have the conversation.
Correct.
Give me the grace to defend my perspective. My mind is open.
Absolutely.
My mind's open.
Yeah.
Except people arguing with me on the fucking price points of different. I'm like, I lived in 3 apartments. All right, cool. I did 140 transactions last year. I think I'd have a better idea of price points.
Exactly.
All right, let's hit bar trivia question for episode 267. This is a cute one. I like this one.
It's cutesy.
All right, I'm going to ask you that you don't answer it on air. All right, once you'll hear the music, and then they'll cut us out over here, and we're done. If you have the answer to this bar trivia question, you go to SipTalkPodcast.com. You give us the answer. We'll put you in the running to win some cool swag, some pint glasses, some very thick, by the way, some very, very thick glass. You put it in the freezer. You get any beer, you pour that beer in that nice, it's nice, very frosty Castina di Novia on the glass, right? You pour that right in there. It's a nice thing. So, bar trivia question. Gary Gladhand, the politician, was very tired after a long day of campaigning. He went to bed at 10 p.m. and he wound his alarm clock and he set it for noon the next day. Gary fell asleep almost immediately. How many hours of sleep did he get before his alarm awoke him? Don't answer it. Gary Gladhand, the politician, was very tired after a long day of campaigning. He went to bed at 10 p.m. and wound his alarm clock and set it for noon the next day. Here, let's take time zones. Let's say it's New York time. He's in New York. Okay. Gary fell asleep almost immediately. How many hours of sleep did Gary have before his alarm clock awoke him? All right. So we're nearing the end of this podcast. I want to thank everybody for joining live. It's pretty cool to have you guys live. We still got a decent Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter crowd. We got TikTok, Instagram. I'm really happy to have Youri here. It's nice to do this, my friend, in person.
Absolutely.
We didn't talk politics. We didn't get anywhere. It
was a fun conversation based on the industry. Technology. It was more technology oriented.
We'll do a little spicier one.
Yes,
one day.
Absolutely.
But it's nice to have you're a genuine guy. Some people are a little guarded. They don't, you in front of the camera, they're a little guarded. But I like that you were genuine about this. We'll do a little spicier one of these
Absolutely.
days. But I like this in-office format. The SipTalk podcast headquarters. Anything you want to talk about before we drop off?
Anything? I guess I have a few people that actually are on the live here. So
can you just pump yourself up a little bit as an agent? I know you've got a lot of credentials. You speak a lot of languages.
I do.
I wouldn't have you here, for no reason. I think you're a great guy. I think you got a big potential in this business. You're already seeing it, and what do you have going on? Pump yourself up.
So what I have going on, I have
some listings,
rental mainly, and Harlem. I have Long Island City, Brooklyn. I also have a Brooklyn sales listing coming up, which
yes, you do. Yeah.
we will be working on that together. I have a series coming out. I gave you guys a glimpse of it. It was like a real, one of those real estate tour, apartment tour, but it will be merged into more than just the real estate tour. It will be a real estate plus culture, restaurant, or whatever, just kind of like to add more value to whatever property I'm showing within that area. So I don't want to just limit it. Everybody's doing a tour.
No, but
right?
you gotta have that the personality. I think
Correct.
you're a very eclectic guy, a lot of background. How are people gonna find you? You got 20 seconds left.
So yes, Youri JP is my page. Youri Youri JP. Just go ahead and hit me up. Spanish, French, Haitian, Creole. Let's talk.
All right, thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon. Adios. Bring us offline.
SipTalk.
All right, you made it to the end. Do not forget to visit SipTalkPodcast.com. See you next time.
It's lady 46 South Road. South Road.